right. All right, guys. Oh yeah, we're do that, Cindy. All right. I'm Dani Williamson from Integrative Family Medicine, and this is Cindy Kubica behind me right here. Right? And these gals are going to share their stories tonight on breast implant illness. And I am so glad that you guys are watching live. As soon as you get logged on, hit your heart buttons, hit your like buttons, post any questions you want up there, because you guys can answer questions at home. I tagged every one of you, okay? You don't know it, but you're all tagged up there, okay? So you can answer any questions that you want. But tonight we're going to talk, I am really going to stay out of this tonight because I'm not an expert on this. What I do know is I know that, how many women? 300,000?
300,000
About 300,000 women a year have breast implants put in
the U.S.
in the United States. We don't have a true registry in the country, so we don't know how many women really have breast implants, and for sure we don't know how many women have breast implant illness. But we're going to talk about all of this tonight, about the symptoms, about what happened to them, how they felt before, what happened to them afterwards, because it's different for every single person in this room, right? And so I'm going to get this started right now. These gals are going to go ahead and get started. We've got Mandy down here, and Beth, and Cindy, and Casey. And Casey was in Washington this last week, right?
Yep.
So you're going to share about that. And then Teresa. And so we're going to get started, and we got a room full of people in here. So you can share this as soon as you pop up live, as it pops up that I'm live. Click share, start a watch party, and then share again. I think that's how it works. Share, start a watch party, and share, because I'm telling you right now, there are hundreds of thousands of women out there who need to hear this, and husbands. We even have husbands in here tonight, so let's hear it for the husbands. All right, guys. We're gonna get started. All right, guys, take it away.
Okay, why don't we just start right here?
Yeah, just start right here.
I am Mandy Salgado. I'm 36 years old. I got my breast implants when I was 21. I was not sick before I had my breast implants.
You were 21,
healthy.
and you're how old now?
I'm 36.
Okay.
I was very healthy before I got my breast implants in. I got them in 2008, and then I started experiencing symptoms about 4 months after I got them in. I remember I was standing in front of my classroom, and I just got this weird sensation in my head, almost like I was on a boat, but I wasn't on a boat. I would get very tired, I was fatigued, and then I would get this weird muscle pain in my neck, and it went down my arm, and one of my fingers were numb. I would go to several different doctors, and I had them tell me I had a panic disorder, which turns out I don't. I would get rashes all over my body that would pop up. I would go to dermatologists, they would give me creams. It was like every doctor I went to for every symptom masked everything I had. They never taught me about what is the root cause, what is the underlying problem, what is happening. They just kept treating all of the external symptoms. And then my thyroid started going out of whack, so I ended up on medication. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's 4 months after the breast implants were put in. And I always ate very healthy. I wasn't a typical teen who went through Taco Bell. I pretty much ate salads and grilled chicken my entire life. I started teaching when I was 21, so I was around a lot of professionals who always ate very healthy. So I wasn't really exposed to a lot of, bad things. So I'm pretty sure the breast implants were the trigger for me. Some more of my symptoms, I used to get headaches, food sensitivities. My eyes were really dry at times. I would get this foggy feeling in my head. I was very sensitive to light and noise. If the sun was out, I had my shades on. I could not go outside without my sunglasses on. Noise, I remember going to church and listening to the choir. I had to step out of the room. I could not hear very loud noise. Now I'm in the front row and singing along. I also had really bad mood swings. Out of nowhere, I would just get like a sense of anger. It was just, I felt terrible. And I now have a 3 and 6 year old, and I don't get those, thank goodness. Sometimes I do, but not like I did before. It was hard to concentrate. I remember I would go to put a glass away, and I would put it in the fridge instead of in the cabinet. It was like something in my brain was just not connecting, and nobody would understand. Like, they kept giving me MRIs. I probably sent to a neurologist. and everything came back, oh, you're fine. Most of my tests were fine. And nobody really believed that there was something wrong, and I knew there was something wrong. Sometimes I would get like this panic feeling. It got really hard to sleep. I wouldn't stay asleep. It was hard to fall asleep. It was like my mind was always going. So finally, after just researching and researching, I kept researching, and I love to read books, and I finally came across this book. It's by a Dr. Cole. She is out of Atlanta, Georgia, and she is a firm believer in breast implant illness. She is a phenomenal surgeon. When I started reading about her, I learned that she had breast implants, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked. So when I went to interview her, because at this point I had no trust in surgeons or doctors, when I went to interview her, my first question was, how is it that you have breast implants, yet you believe in breast implant illness? And she said, well, I get my breast implants taken out every 4 years. I do not keep them in any longer than that, because then they will develop mold, and then the silicone that the saline is enclosed in will start leaking into your body. And when that happens, you will start experiencing all these symptoms. I also bought her book. She has a book out that is phenomenal. That's the first thing I started reading. I went and got surgery done here in Nashville. I don't want to mention the surgeon's name, but if you want to PM me, I will tell you not to go see him, because he is not a firm believer on taking out the capsule. The capsule is, these are my capsules, and the capsules are what is your tissue that actually develops and grows around the implant. Your body is going to naturally defend itself from this implant, and it will form tissue around it. If that tissue is not removed along with your implant together, you will remain sick. There are many toxins inside of that implant. It is super important. When I woke up after they were removed, the surgeon told me I got 90% of your capsule, and I just cried. Like, oh, another surgery. So then finally I drove out to Atlanta, and I said, okay, Dr. Cole, here I am. I need you to get rid of my capsules. She then went back in, removed my capsules. I still remain sick. She has this whole protocol that is super important if you remain sick, I believe, after removing them. She's very big on antifungals. You will develop yeast from saline implants, more so saline than you will silicone, from my understanding. So you want to be put on a round of antifungals. You will become immune to an antifungal after taking it for so long, so you have to rotate them. There are 3 different ones that are pretty popular. I was on Vefen and nystatin. And it really helped a lot. When I woke up in the morning, when I had the breast implants, my tongue was completely white. And that's how I knew that I had lots of yeast in my stomach. I always felt like I was about 5 months pregnant. I'm normally soaking wet 100 pounds. When I had the breast implants, I was 126, and my breast implants weren't that big. They were only like a V. So it was because of all this yeast that I was holding in my gut. So once I treated the antifungals, then I started to detox myself. I didn't just plummet into a normal detox. I needed my body to have time to be able to heal. So I just stuck with like Epsom salt baths, and that's all I did for the beginning. And then I ate very clean, super clean. Everything's organic. The only thing I eat are meats, vegetables, and fruits. I was extremely determined to get well. My antibodies, when I was tested, I actually have them, and it just amazes me. They were 3,000 and
These are your thyroid antibodies, for people who don't know, your Hashimoto's antibodies.
Yes, I now have Hashimoto's. I was diagnosed with it 4 months after those implants. I had 3,273 antibodies, and now I am down to like 60 something.
67 to be exact. Yes.
I am living proof that,
Yes.
you know,
Your body is designed to heal itself.
yes, it is. It absolutely is. You just have to feed it what it needs.
Yes.
And I'm a strong believer in that. I eat very clean. So to sum it up really quick, in order to heal your immune system, you have to explant. You have to heal your gut. And then this is important. You have to eradicate the infections.
Yes.
You have to manage your co-infections. A lot of these people end up with Epstein-Barr, or you end up with Lyme's, or you end up with yeast infections, or you end up with sinus infections, a bunch of infections. Your teeth, you start getting abscess. So your body, because it's attacking your immune system, so your immune system is really focusing on, fighting those toxins. And you want to really eliminate toxins from your environment the best you can. Make sure that you're drinking clean water and you're getting good food. and you're not really exposing yourself to a lot of chemicals. Clean up your, your makeup and your, deodorants and all that kind of stuff. There's one more thing that I did want to share with you. There is this mold test that you can take online if you have breast implants, and it is BCS Aptitude Screening Test. The website is www.survivingmold.com, and it's about $15, and you take this test online, and I obviously failed. My results are at the bottom. I failed.
Do you have any website?
Sure, no problem. It is www.survivingmold.com. It's about $15. I mean, I did this, I explanted in 2016, so I explanted 2 years ago. I don't know if they raised their price. They may have, considering there's a lot more people that probably know about it.
I think it's around that.
Oh, is it still $15? Okay. So now, I don't 100% believe in this test, but I think it's a good starting point. At least for me, it was like, oh, okay, so maybe I do have mold. I do have a lot of these symptoms. So after taking this and then, finding out, and a lot of the symptoms are on the back too. Oh, I also had really bad hair loss. I remember that too. I remember my hair falling out in clumps. Oh my gosh, it used to scare me. But again, after explanting and treating my body and giving it what it needs, I'm really doing much better now. I'm just going through my list to see if there's anything else. Blood work. I don't know if anybody's going to talk about this. Does anybody have the exact blood work that you would recommend for people getting? Okay, I'm just going to shoot down the list really quick. I would, so if you have breast implants and you're concerned that you're having symptoms, I would go and get your thyroid checked, your vitamin D, your minerals and your B vitamins, and ask for an ANA antibody, CBC, which is a blood count, your CMP, the metabolic panel, and the CRPC.
It's C-reactive protein. That's an inflammatory marker.
It's going to detect any inflammation. Definitely get Lyme, mold, any bacteria, and co-infections. Your cortisol and your ferritin is what I would get checked. So these are like, most of the things are going to be very low in us women who have had breast implants. All right.
Did you get your blood tested for metals too?
I
also did that.
Yes, I did for my metals, and I was a little high. I ended up getting all my mercury taken out. I use Ryan Jones, who I think is absolutely amazing.
He's my dentist.
Yeah, that's
I didn't know you used him.
You mean?
My dentist, you mean?
He's probably watching tonight because he knew we were doing this.
Well,
So.
he knows. I always recommend my friends to him. He always knows. So, but they actually remove. I'm a research person. I love to read. I said that earlier. I do a lot of research before I plunge in with somebody. And their office is one of the offices that actually remove the mercury the right way.
That's
There's
right.
a right way to remove it, and you need to be aware of that if anybody is planning on going down that road. So, but I think that's also important for your health too, because like I said, once your immune system is attacked so much, it seems like everything else starts to go. So that's something else that will help. Thank you for letting me share my story. You're welcome. All right.
So, my name is Beth. I am looking at my notes here. So, I had my breast augmentation in 1997.
Wow.
Smooth sailing.
She was 12.
And
Sorry.
I explanted in August of 2017. So, I had them for 20 years.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
same ones?
Same ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be 2 years that I explanted this coming August. So I really noticed my symptoms in 2011.
So that's a long time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a long time. So sometimes when people get breast implants, they won't realize you have symptoms until many years later.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time before
Yes.
it happens if you're not swapping them out. And there's a reason why it says they expire.
Right.
And even though they have 10 to 15 years, it should really be like 6 to 8. I mean, I don't think it should be 10 to 15. That's just.
Yeah. And what's interesting is at the 8-year mark and at the 10-year mark, because when I had my implants put in, they said, oh yeah, you should have them replaced every 8 to 10 years, right?
Yep.
So I asked 4 different plastic surgeons hey, I'm at the 8-year mark, I'm at the 10-year mark, I'm way past the 10-year mark, I'm at 15, I'm at, should I have these removed? And they said, do they hurt? Are they hard? No, I'm not having any problems. Then keep them in, they're perfectly fine, they're staying. You don't have to worry about it until one ruptures, then go ahead and get them replaced. So I kept them in. Now, after knowing what I know now, I think, gosh, would I be in this situation if I would have just gotten them out and not listened? But anyway. But I noticed the symptoms in 2011, and that was after the 10-year mark. My hormones, I had two kids, back-to-back pregnancies, and breastfeeding. And after my second one was when I really noticed the symptoms. My hormones were crazy. I think a lot of our stories, even though we have a few differences in maybe the type of implants we have or how long it's taken, our stories are very, very similar as far as the symptoms, as far as everything that we went through. So yeah, listening to you, it's a lot of the same things that I was going to say.
The breastfeeding, if you have breast implants, do not breastfeed. Absolutely do not breastfeed. You are passing toxins to that infant. Of course, I didn't know. I breastfed both my babies too. But my daughter, I watch her a lot. I'm very cautious about what I feed her. I detox them, but that's a whole nother. Anyway, so.
That's okay. But I was having crazy hormones. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, food sensitivities. It just came out of nowhere. And like when you said just like violent rage over nothing, crying and just crazy. And uncontrollable. I would try to describe to people, it's like if you get stung by a mosquito, you just slap it and you don't even think. Like that was the rage.
Just
and
roll.
and then afterwards I'd be like, where did that come from and why? So anyway, that went on for a while. I went to a doctor in Los Angeles. I used to live in LA. And she put me on bioidenticals and lots of supplements and all of that. But the problems, like she said, it was like putting a Band-Aid on everything, right? And I went years and years and years with lots of Band-Aids, and it still wasn't going away. It just kind of helped me get through it. And then I got to the point where I was taking so many supplements that my body was starting to shut down. And then I went to another doctor, and she said, well, let's test for MTHFR because that has been a really big game changer with a lot of my patients. I got tested, and sure enough, I had that. And I think that a lot of the women that have breast implant illness have MTHFR. Not all of us have it here, but a lot of them do. And I think it develops in us because with MTHFR, you can't release your toxins as easily as most people, right? And also, I couldn't absorb a lot of my medications. I couldn't absorb a lot of the supplements, and they were recirculating in my body and causing me to feel worse. So, I spun out on all of that. I was trying to do the right thing, trying to go to the right people, and it still wasn't working. Well, that was a game changer for me because once I figured that out, she put me on supplements to help me methylate to get all of the toxins out. It really did help, but it didn't solve everything. So before that, let me back up a little bit. Before I found out I had MTHFR, I got so sick, I was bedridden. And I was bedridden from, for 6 months in 2016. And I literally thought that I was going to die. I'm not kidding. It was the most horrifying experience. I couldn't do anything. To get up in the morning, to get ready, to take a shower. I would get ready to take my kids to school, and I would be so exhausted. I would drive them to school, and I could barely stay awake. And then I'd get home, and I would sleep all day because I was so tired. And I had to in order to go and pick them up after school so I could take care of them at night, in the evenings. And it was just a repetitive cycle. I couldn't exercise. I was passing out at the gym, just blacking out. It was crazy. I had several of the symptoms. I think do you guys have papers of the symptoms? So I'll go through the symptoms that I had in a minute. And then I went to see this doctor. She put me on the MTHFR supplements to detox. And I started getting a little bit better. She helped me get out of the funk for a few months. And then I moved here in 2017. And then I had a second episode of being bedridden here. It was from January 2017 until I explanted in August 2017. So that was a long stretch. And again, I felt like I was gonna die. And on the days that I didn't feel like I was gonna die, I wished I was gonna die, honestly. It was horrible.
When did you make the connection between your illness and
Okay, so when I was back in California, before I was bedridden, when I was having all of these symptoms, I was talking to my friend. She got implants, I think about a year after I did saline, and she was diagnosed with MS. And she's the one that brought it to my attention. She said, I read an article or heard something about women having mold in their saline implants. Do you think that's what's wrong with us? I'm like, oh my God, maybe it is. That's scary, right? I tried to do research on it, and at that time, there wasn't a lot online. We really couldn't find anything. So I just kind of was like, okay, well, I just kind of let that go, and I didn't really think anything else of it. But then when I moved here, a month before, in July, before I explanted in August, a friend of mine readdressed that issue because I was bedridden. I couldn't take care of my kids. My husband left for business. He was in China for several months, and I was left alone with my two kids. I couldn't take care of myself. So my friend came and took care of me. She was my nanny for my kids. She flew here from LA, and she took care of me. She took care of the kids, and she mentioned it again. She said, Beth, maybe it's your implants. And I thought, oh my God. So I looked online, and I found healingbreastimplantillness.com. I don't know if you've heard of that. Every doctor I went to, nobody could figure out what was wrong with me this whole entire time, from 2011 up until 2017. And everybody was trying to help me by putting Band-Aids on. But when I looked there, and nobody would believe me with a lot of my symptoms that I had, right? And I'll let you feel me. So, yeah. So when I went there for the first time, I looked at that list of symptoms and I started crying because I finally figured it out. I finally figured it out. And if there's one takeaway that I can give you is you have to be your own advocate for your health.
Yes.
You have to. You have to, in anything and everything, you have to be your own advocate. Keep fighting, keep searching, keep researching. And don't just take somebody's word for it. You know your body. You know your body. And that's what I did. And the symptoms that I had, I looked on there and I had at least 30 of the symptoms. And that's how I knew. I thought, oh my God, this is it. So fatigue, chronic fatigue. I was bedridden. Cognitive dysfunction. I had brain fog. I had difficulty concentrating, word retrieval, memory loss. Oh my God, I would sit around the campfire with my neighbors, and I could barely get to next door, to the driveway next door because I was so weak. And I would sit down and I wouldn't speak. I would not speak because I couldn't even, I was so busy concentrating on existing. I don't even know how to describe it. I was so out of it and I was struggling just to be there, just to be present. If that makes any sense. I would try to talk to people. I couldn't find words. I felt like an idiot. You know, I don't know. I just felt like I felt like even at the gym when I tried to work out, I felt like I had to will my body to move. And I've never felt that before. I had to will my body. I had to really think and concentrate about talking. I had to really think and concentrate about just walking, like everyday things, you know. I couldn't pay bills. I couldn't do any of these things. I just, my mind wasn't there. Muscle aches, pain, weakness, joint pain, hair loss, dry eyes, all these things. If you look at the list online.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, I had 30 of those things. The moment I got my implants out, I would say probably at least 50% of those symptoms went away immediately.
Yeah, mine did too.
Without doing nothing else, but just taking those implants out.
And your capsules?
Huh?
And your capsules?
And my capsules, yes.
Which-
And block.
Yes, my
And block.
capsules are gone too.
And block. It's gotta be that way. That's the only way. If they tell you some other way to take them out, you need to find another doctor.
Yes.
And block is the only way to take them out. I immediately felt better. Yeah. And I still, to detox, it takes, I just was looking on the website today for a friend, it takes up to 2 years to detox.
I'm 2 years out and I still have some symptoms. I am not completely healed. I still sometimes, I have bad memory loss. And I'm only 36. I mean, I think that's something that's just gonna stick with me. I don't know about these other women, but I have very bad memory loss. I mean, my husband can say something to me and I totally just, I forget. I walk into rooms, don't remember why. I open the fridge, I just stand there. I mean, I don't know if that's ever gonna get better for me.
That improved for me.
Did it?
Yeah, I mean, I have brain farts here and there,
Yeah.
but that improved for me. Yeah, but there's still things that I struggle with. My adrenal fatigue, that's taken a long time. My last appointment with Dani, I was telling them for the first time since 2011, my adrenals are in the normal range. They're in the low normal range, but thank God they're in the normal range. And that is huge for me, huge. I'm still dealing with leaky gut issues, which is one of the symptoms. But these things take time, and I have to remember that. My husband told me today, he's like, you don't see it because you're living it, but I see it. I see where you were. You looked like you were going to die. You felt like you were going to die. You couldn't get out of bed. You couldn't do anything, and look at you now. So I'm living proof, as of all of us, that there is hope, and this is real, and you're going to heal. You're going to heal, and that's why we're here. We want to let you know that. So, thank you.
Beth.
Now, I didn't write down my symptoms. Can I show yours?
Absolutely.
Because they're the same.
Do you have that
Well, they-
page?
I do have a page,
Because,
but they are all
Because
pretty
they're
much
the
all the same. Everybody's
They're
symptoms.
pretty
Yeah,
much all,
yeah.
yeah, these are all.
because they're the same, what they
Yes.
said.
Yeah, I didn't even give you half.
Yeah, yeah, they're all.
It's ridiculous how many symptoms. There you
Mine was very confusing because mine happened, I actually had my first implants in the 80s. And then in 1997, I had a car wreck. And the seatbelt lock, it broke my neck. And I broke 5, 6, 7, had dual ruptured discs. So I had dual vasectomy and fusion, but both implants ruptured. And the silicone actually went all the way to the middle of my back. So I had no feelings in this whole side after that. I had no feeling. They said it was because of the car wreck. So mine was very confusing because I had car wreck and I was really injured severely. And I started immediately, when I would look at numbers, I would get angry. I would try and add something, and I'm a person that every penny in my checkbook, I was a single mom for 23 years, so every penny in my checkbook would be balanced, and I couldn't look at numbers. And that was the first thing that I noticed. I would look at them and I would just go into this rage, and I'd go, what is wrong with me? And I went into a deep depression. I'm an athlete. I was a fitness trainer along with my other career as a performer and professional speaker. And I didn't have the energy to work out anymore, as you were saying. No energy. I had numbness throughout my body. As a professional speaker, I would get up in front of a group and all of a sudden I'd start stuttering over my words. I couldn't think of things. And it all came to a head, and this was just before I met Dani, and she helped me to heal my body tremendously. The pre-work is as important as after the explant, let me tell you, because I didn't have that far to go because of Dani's help, I have to say. And long before she started this clinic here, she was at another place, and I started going to her then. So
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
We've been through a lot.
Yes, we have been through a lot together, Dani. But you were talking about sensory confusion, and that was one of the things that I had. I was a professional singer at one point. I couldn't listen to music. Sound created this burning smell. Sound made this burning smell so bad, I kept thinking people were smoking pot around me. I was like, who's smoking pot? I smell this burning stuff, what is it? And so, yeah, and then smells.
And then people really think you're crazy.
They
do.
Because you start telling them you're sensitive to light, and then what, are you allergic to the sun? Are you one of those people?
Yeah.
And
But then
it came to the point where you didn't want to tell people anymore.
Yeah.
You just felt like something was wrong, and it just became very uncomfortable.
It is really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People don't understand, and they're like, why are you suddenly stuttering over your words all the time? Why can't you remember things?
Or mix up your words.
Yeah,
I used
mix
to
up
do that
your
a
words
lot.
all the time. And when I was interviewing people, I have a talk show, and I would have to write down every single word because I couldn't remember anything for even that fast. It would be out of my brain. But I was getting ready to speak in front of a group. And I remember the burning smell. As soon as the lights came on and they introduced me, the burning smell was so great. I just felt like there was a fire somewhere, and I'm looking around. They start clapping, and the noise just created this burning all over my body. And as an athlete, I'm one of the few women that actually do what the guys do, where they run and they jump on the stage, that kind of thing. And I went for my run, and my legs didn't work. And I'm standing there, and there's about 200 people in the audience, and I can't move. And everything's burning, my eyes are burning, the burning smell, and I can't move, and I am willing my legs, please God, let me get to that stage. And finally, my legs started working, but I moved like a sloth, literally moved slow motion. I got up there and I got on stage, and one of my speakers bureaus were there, and they were like, what is going on with you? And I made it through the presentation. Do not remember a word I said, not a single word that I said. And I must have just been an autopilot because they liked me and they invited me back, but I couldn't fly anymore after that. So it ended my speaking career. I could not get on an airplane. The pressurization just caused me to swell up, and Dani can tell you, after that, all these food sensitivities, one slice of pizza, I would go up to 9 pounds. I told her that.
A buffalo burger.
Yeah.
Buffalo burger. Buffalo was
Buffalo
the best
burger.
for her. Bison.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could eat bison.
Yeah, I couldn't even avocado.
I know.
So even that, food sensitivities all over the place, and everything that I ate made me worse. And I am healthy eater. I'm a whole health educator. I am, everything that I put in my body is organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, range-free, all that, and yet I'm so sick and I'm enraged all the time. Do not be a telemarketer and call my house. I will go off on you. It was awful. And the day that I said I have to do something, not only that, that day, but the day that my granddaughter did something, I raised my granddaughter, so she skipped school one day, and I was so just mad at her. She delivered a peace offering of breakfast to me in bed. So she brought it and she put it at the top of the stairs, and she says, "Nana, here you go." And I kicked it down the steps. And I thought, who was that? That is not Cindy. That's not who I am. And I said, I got to find some answers. I started searching. Right after that, they diagnosed me with MS, fibromyalgia, you name it. They diagnosed me with everything. They gave me the Salgado. That was just before, I think just before we met, is that right? I think that's why I came to you.
Yep.
And I became paralyzed from the Salgado for 3 weeks. And then afterwards, I moved like a sloth. I mean, literally, I'd go to reach for something, my arm would go back to me. And that's when I went to see Dani. And I said, there's something wrong. And I asked doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, could it be these implants? Could it be these implants? And they said, no, they're completely safe. And so I went from person to person till I found Dani, and we started working together, detoxing my body. The symptoms started going down. I'd get better for a while, then I'd get worse, and then I'd get better for a while, then I'd get worse.
I don't know if detoxing while you have the breast implants is such a safe thing, because you're pulling
Well,
out
we didn't
toxins.
know that at the time.
Oh, okay.
We didn't
You
know
don't
that.
wanna detox
Right.
if you have breast implants.
Right.
So
I
you'll be
actually
pulling
felt-
more. You'll feel good for a while until those toxins
That's
come
right.
back again, then you're gonna feel worse. Yes, you
After,
wanna detox
after I
after.
started,
Yeah.
caution to everyone, when you detox after you have your explant, be sure not to do it too soon or too fast, like I did. I went for a run one day. I'm a runner, and I just thought, okay, I gotta get out there and just do a mile, just something very light. And I've got a video on this, by the way. By the time I got that, I started sweating, and metal came through my body, through my skin. I had a rash all over me. I think I showed you the picture, Dani. And I had a rash all over me, and you could go like this, and you could see the metals
Yeah.
in my hand. You could see them shining in my hand.
They will come through your pores.
They will come through the
Yes, they will.
pores.
These toxins.
So you want to do it slowly. So I went out and got ice cream. I don't even like ice cream. And I said, I got to slow this detox down.
Ice cream.
I said, give me some ice cream. I had to slow it down and back up a little bit, and then approach it just much slower.
Yeah.
But now I am singing again, I have to say. When you
Yeah.
heard me just kind of chanting a little sing, I do musical parodies and stuff like that in my programs, but I stopped singing completely through this. You know, I used to be very talented, and I lost all that talent. I used to have a 4-octave range, and all of a sudden I don't have an octave. I can't remember the words to songs. People would invite me up to sing, and I can't remember anything. But now I'm starting to sing again, and it just feels good to use that gift that I got from my mommy. And it just, I'm listening to music. I've been listening to John Denver, one of my favorite people, and just singing his music, singing Carole King and some of the old stuff. And I'm like, all the words are coming back to me, and I'm able to sing again. I'm able to remember things. I'm able to convey myself in an intelligent way without feeling like I have to write everything down,
Yeah.
you know, and right?
Well, I
My
still
way.
write stuff down.
Yeah, now, in the interviews,
in progress.
I'm interviewing people now, and I don't have to write every word down.
Yes.
I can read again. I felt like, I thought, I became dyslexic.
Because you can't concentrate,
Yeah.
that's what, you
Yeah.
cannot focus or concentrate on something. It's just that part of you is gone. And it's just so scary. How many careers? I mean, I stopped teaching. I was a teacher for 10 years and just couldn't do it anymore. I was too exhausted. And the doctors kept telling me, it's because you have little babies. I'm like, well, baby and she has little babies,
Well,
and
they
she's
blamed
doing just fine.
Yeah, they blamed it on my age.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 62 now,
You look fabulous.
and I want to stay as vibrant as I can. I want to continue to run. I don't run like I used to. I'm much slower after the car wreck, but I still want to be able to do that. I got my motorcycle's license when I turned 60. yes. I got an Indian Scout, and now I feel like I can get on it. And before, I felt like I was going to fall over all the time because my equilibrium
I remember that
was
too.
really
Yes,
bad.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Vertical's
I
so
can
bad.
do that. So it's, there's
Good for you.
so many things that are much better now in me. The symptoms, I'm not going to repeat all the symptoms because they're the same.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to just tell everybody to start doing, if you've had an explant, this is one thing that has helped me so very well. And I've got a morning detox push that I do. It's very easy. It's a teaspoon of lemon, teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, chia seeds, and in warm water with a little bit of stevia to taste. I drink that every single morning. I follow that with carbon 60, the C60. Is everybody familiar with
No,
what
what is
that
that?
is? The carbon 60 or C60 is actually 60 molecules and buckyballs. You might know it as buckyballs. Some people call it that.
Buckyball.
Yeah.
We're talking breast implants tonight. Wrong meeting. That's next door. The Buckyballs meeting is next door. Oh,
The C60 is a carbon. It's 60 carbon. And carbon, just like just like clay and just like charcoal,
yes.
it detoxes the body.
Right.
And you take it in, it's olive oil. It's you get it. It comes in an olive oil base, and you just a couple of droppers every single day. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much better I feel. My body's detoxing in a really nice, pleasant way.
Gentle way.
Yes, very gentle. So the chia seeds are to help move everything through. I'm taking the C60. I'm also taking, let me see here, I'm just looking at some of my protocol here. Let me see, the clay, the charcoal, and the charcoal, I just want to say, David Wolf is exploring this a little bit, if everybody knows who he is. I was talking to him at a conference this weekend, and he wants me to do high amounts of charcoal for 2 weeks and then bring it all the way down, going from 2,500 up to 3,000, 30,000, and then back down again in a 2-week process. So I'm going to research on that, and I'll let everybody know what I'm doing. But that's...
You're not the first person to do that, are you?
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
been working with
Oh,
people and other people that have had explants.
Oh,
So
Great.
he's writing a book about it.
Good.
So I just want to say to everybody, if you have complications other than, like me, it was confusing trying to figure out what was wrong with my body because I had a car wreck. Look to the implants first and then start looking at all the other stuff.
Yes.
Because that's
Yes.
what it was.
Good advice.
So don't do any detoxing while you have
No.
it
Wait.
done?
No.
Wait.
it's because you're gonna
I
draw
just
out
don't.
the toxin. There will be different opinions on
Yeah.
this, but I would trust your gut. I mean, if you have something toxic inside of you, you're gonna put a detox through your body, it's gonna make those chemicals come out more. I mean, I've gone to so many different functional medicine doctors and argued this point, but I don't know, go with your gut, but I'm telling you not to.
See, I couldn't have functioned at all if I hadn't done it. So
Yeah, I've only,
Yeah.
my breast implants were only put in for 8 years. These women, I mean, 20 years, I mean, you guys are amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. To be bedridden, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, and how you did it with children. I
Yes,
feel like-
ma'am.
I just have a quick question. This is probably gonna sound a little weird or crazy, but do you color your hair?
I do not.
do I
Those are toxic.
I do highlight my hair. I put a little
Are
highlight
you
on for
concerned
3
about
minutes.
those chemicals?
No.
I am,
Okay.
yes, I do not
If
put
you
that on my
can go
body.
organic, I would.
Yeah.
I do it.
Is there
I use a very,
Yeah.
There's an organic
Yes,
salon.
you can
Yeah.
get healthy.
There is.
Sure is.
There's healthy
Yeah.
lotions, shampoos.
I know, what is it? Yeah, no, I
And
know that.
Yeah,
And
and
I
hair
see your
organic.
color and it's like,
Yes.
well, wait a minute. You're
Yes,
getting
and
clean, you're
natural.
doing all these clean things.
No, they
You're
have
doing
all
all these
natural.
things.
Yeah,
You're
do
doing
natural.
I use natural, but I only put it on for 3 minutes.
Okay, we're live, so we're gonna, because they can't, all right, we're gonna go right here. No, it's okay. We'll ask questions after. Yeah, yep.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm Casey. I got my breast implants when I was 19 years old. I just was not happy with what I had.
I grew up, my dad was in breast cancer research, so I was around reconstructive surgery from a very young age, playing with implants as a child.
Oh, wow.
And my mom was in clinical research. She obviously knew about the ban that was going on.
Right.
So when I brought it up that I wanted them, it was kind of a tough issue, but at the end of the day, we went to my surgeon. He told me that these were already on the market, approved in Europe. The US just took a little longer to approve things. Which I still think is true in some circumstances, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so I went ahead, I knew I was gonna be part of a 10-year study. I got the implants in my body. We only discussed a textured gummy bear, the teardrop shape. Was presented, you could drive a car over it, cut it in half. It's not gonna leak. Another thing they don't really explain is what would happen if you put a gummy bear in a 98-degree pot of water.
Right.
Which is your body temperature.
Yes.
Right.
That's what she's referencing.
Yeah.
So yeah, right there, the silicone starts to break down, have gel bleed without actually having a rupture. So it goes undetected. I had issues starting the second day I got my implants. I went back to the surgeon and I was told it was a reaction to the pain medication. And so I stopped taking the pain medication. I still had the nausea, all the symptoms. By 7 months, I had swelling of my right breast. I had a mass that had developed. I was having joint pain and the nausea was still there. I was told it was fine, not to worry about it. And it just progressed from there. Within my first year of having it, I was diagnosed with IBS. I was not using the restroom. If I did, it was just blood. The time I was 21, I had my first colonoscopy, and that came back completely normal. They just told me to take a bunch of Miralax, and it might just be my body. And that was normal for my body to not be going to the restroom.
So most of these tests that they test for are going to come back normal.
Yes.
Except for the blood markers that I told you to get.
Yep.
So this is what discourages us so much.
Oh,
I mean, that's-
It was so frustrating. I was going to specialists all across the US and just having no answers. My gastro system was hit very hard. Then it was the nausea. I started calling it phantom morning sickness. I would get dressed in the morning and I would put a bralette on and it would just start me gagging. And it's not good. And I had my implants for 8.5 years and that was my most prevalent symptom.
But only when you put the bralette on.
No, I would wake up and it would.
That's me. Every single morning. It's been going on for 2.5 years. I thought it's because of Franklin, just since we've been here.
Franklin. Makes me nauseated.
No, I mean, I thought I was allergic to something in the, that Franklin produced, some
Yeah.
tree or something. I don't know.
Everybody else had burning.
Interesting.
Yes.
I had extreme burning. So my issue started first with my right breast and the swelling and the mass, but then it shifted over to my left. At my 2-year study follow-up, it was right before I was 22, I was having neuropathy and I lost feeling in my hands and feet. I was 21, 22, walking with friends in LA, and I would fall out of nowhere, just completely lose feeling. Had all the EMG nerve testing done with neurologist here. I would fly back to see my plastic surgeon for the study follow-up, and I would go to my doctors here. And on every single thing I put, I had breast implants. Every single doctor told me they were FDA approved. There was no issue with that. My nerve testing came back normal. I started to have neurological issues. I had the brain fog, difficulty concentrating, but I also had migraines, and the migraines would make me throw up. They were so painful. I would be asleep even and have a nightmare and wake up throwing up. Then I didn't realize this or make this connection, but how much joint pain and inflammation I had. And that's something I think I just gradually got used to because it just happened over a period of time. It wasn't like I woke up and it was just there. And these are like all of my symptoms that I experienced. I had so many surgeries. My hormones were really affected. I had like 8 to 9 ovarian cysts rupture in less than a year. Was hospitalized for every single one of them. One of them caused torsion of my ovary. So before I got rushed in for emergency surgery, it thankfully untwisted itself. I had endometriosis that had seeded on every single organ.
in my body. So it was supposed to be a 30-minute surgery, ended up being about 2-something hours. I developed fibroids in my breast. I would go down to a cancer center in Memphis and I got mammograms and was told,
Which don't do.
And how old-
If you have breast implants.
How old are you?
with the mammogram, I was 27.
And how old are you?
I just turned 29 on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, my entire 20s were spent in and out of doctor's offices and hospitals. And my kind of aha moment was last year. I woke up, I couldn't open my left eye. I went to several doctors. I went to an optometrist, 20/20 vision. They flipped my lid, did scans, everything checked out fine. Referred me to an ocular surgeon who told me I had intermittentosis. So it was kind of just a lazy eye, but it happened sporadically. I was then referred to a neuro-ophthalmologist at Vanderbilt Eye Institute who diagnosed me with myasthenia gravis, told me to stop all physical activity,
Yeah.
that I could go into a crisis just walking to my mailbox.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm in the process of getting my Pilates certification and like trying to do my daily movement and everything. And so it was just kind of like earth shattering to hear that. I had a glass of wine last year at the Preds game at their loss for the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I woke up in the morning uncontrollably throwing up because I had developed alcohol intolerance.
Wow.
And
That's another thing.
alcohol. Yep. I had one glass of wine and I was supposed to fly to see my mom for Mother's Day. We were going to San Diego and then to Portland. And I flew out there to see her and I couldn't eat for the entire time I was there. I had a slice of watermelon and it was gagging, but it was coming from up here. And I always have an appetite, but then I had nothing. And any movement would just set off this like fit of gagging and awful. So I flew straight back to Nashville. My fiance picked me up. We went right to the emergency room and we sat there waiting and I Googled myasthenia gravis and constant refluxing or gagging. And that took me to a link about silicone toxicity. And like you said, I just broke down in the emergency waiting room. And it was every single thing I'd experienced for 8.5 years that I went to specialist after specialist and told I was fine or it was all in my head. And
That's what you're told a lot.
yeah.
It's all in your head.
Yeah.
And then they put you on prescription meds.
And even then in the emergency room, I like was talking to the triage nurse and she had some compassion, but once I got actually in the back room, I had 2 male doctors and I like had looked up the tests, like all different kinds of things. And I like said it was my implants and my fiance and my dad in the room, both the doctors just laughed at me.
Oh.
And I mean, completely brushed me off. Meanwhile, pumping me with like all these different drugs. I'm still gagging and having the reflux. I'm like, you're discharging me and I'm not any better than when I came in. And they told me like, hopefully my appetite would come back in the next couple of weeks to take 3 medications. The neuro-ophthalmologist wanted me to intermittently take steroids to try to dose myself, which I didn't feel comfortable taking. And yeah, as soon as I saw that image and all of my symptoms, I mean, it just clicked. And I woke up from my surgery, I have my doctor, my surgeon, my angel coaching me through how to breathe. And for the first time in 8.5 years, I took my first full breath. It didn't hurt. I didn't realize how effective my breathing had gotten, but it would like stagger almost. And yeah, the chronic inflammation, I lost 20 pounds in a month. Wow. While just sitting in bed healing.
Wow.
And it was all the inflammation. But that's when I was like, oh, my muscles are firing now. My joints don't hurt. Like so many things, so many other symptoms took the forefront that I had gotten accustomed to other lesser symptoms, I guess.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been quite the journey.
And if you're older and experience this, they keep saying, oh, it's your age.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's your age.
That's right.
You know? And that's.
I was even told that too. And I was like, well, this is what getting older is.
Forget about it.
Yeah. But that's what it was. I didn't want to continue on if this is what life was doing. And I had made all the changes with my makeup, my diet, the household cleaners, like everything.
Are you the one that told me that your fiance was with you when you
Yeah.
was this you with you when you got the implants, and he's been with you the entire time? He knew you were sick 2 days later,
Yeah.
and then he's seeing this side of you, and you're still. Are you married yet? Did you get engaged? Okay, all right. Man, he's a keeper. He's a keeper to go through that.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Casey just got back from Washington,
Yes.
from the FDA symposium,
Panel, yeah, panel
the
discussion.
hearings, and
Mhm.
she was there on that.
I was.
And how do you feel about that?
That was extremely emotional to be in the room with the manufacturers,
Mm.
who were saying all of their own science and research that they've done and presenting completely flawed studies. Sorry, a key point, I was dropped from the study when I started having neurological issues.
Oh,
Yes.
you were dropped.
Almost all of the women, if you do research, almost all the women that started having symptoms, they dropped them by year 3.
Yep, and so the
Year
FDA,
3, they dropped them out.
the FDA let
Oh
the
my
The
manufacturers
only
do
people that
their
went
own
on
study.
were women with no symptoms.
Wow.
And it was a 10-year
Exactly.
study.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So the FDA let the manufacturers carry out their own studies and then didn't follow up with it. They even let them bypass reporting and like injury data reports.
Mm.
And they not only limited that, they just kept it from the public, what was turned in. So it's completely, flawed, and it was frustrating. But I feel very hopeful for how it ended and the final comments on the second day. A lot of panel members addressed breast implant illness and said it should be recognized as a medical condition and eligible for insurance coverage.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what they say there and what actually happens could be completely different things, but I do feel pretty hopeful and optimistic. And I think a huge difference that we have now versus the 90s when it was banned, we have social media.
Yes.
Just like we're able to
Yes.
share tonight. The manufacturers kind of had all the power and control back then, and they could silence. But I think there's so many women,
Coming forward.
yeah, and the group that I found, the Breast Implant Illness and Healing by Nicole, there's 73, almost 74,000 women.
That's right.
And that was 70,000 at the beginning of the meetings last week. The numbers of people, finding it
When
is
I
crazy.
joined that Facebook group, there was only 22,000.
Yeah.
And it's been less than 2 years. It's been a year and a half.
It was 31.
What is the Facebook group?
74 now.
Breast Implant Illness and Healing. by
That's the
Nicole.
website that I discovered.
Mhm.
And if you go on the website, they have a link to a Facebook group. And we belong to that Facebook group.
I joined in January and there were 60,000 women on the Facebook
Yeah.
site.
In January, and now there's 70 from January to April. That's
How many of you
unbelievable.
have lost your hair? I'm
I
just
have
curious.
9 months.
I
Just
did.
the,
Yeah.
My hair's just coming back
Overnight.
in and I had thin hair in the first place, so.
Yeah.
So what'd you say? She asked a
I
question.
asked how long ago did you get your?
It's been 9 months
Okay.
since Friday.
Okay.
And then I had them for 8.5 years total. And I woke up from surgery with, I had chronic neck and shoulder pain on my right
I
side.
had that too on the same side.
I woke up and it
Mine
was
was
gone, never came
Mine
back.
radiated down my arm.
Unbelievable. And did you have surgery in Nashville?
No, I flew to Cleveland to see Dr. Fiend.
Okay.
So I had my surgery there.
Yes.
But now there are amazing surgeons here
Yes.
who do proper removal.
Yes.
Just do
In
your
Nashville?
research.
Yes.
Yep.
Do your research and make sure you ask them in block style, total cup.
And Casey brought a list,
Yeah.
so she has a huge list.
You want to ask them how many removals they've done, and you want to ask them if you can keep your implants after, because there are a lot of lawsuits, and if you have your implants, that is so much better for your case.
Yeah, we have implants here
And
tonight.
pictures.
Several people
I
have their
had
implants.
pictures.
Really?
Yes.
They took
Yeah.
pictures of the implants and the capsules when
Mhm.
Yeah, I have pictures.
Yes.
as well.
Teresa, your turn.
I'm Teresa. I am 50 years old. I got my implants when I was 41, so I had them for 9 years. And I had my surgery 6 weeks ago tomorrow.
Yes, you're the newbie.
So I'm the new one here.
Yeah.
I'm just starting the detox. I'm a little bit different in that I did have some symptoms before I had my implants. I did have hypothyroidism. I've had that since my 20s. So that was an issue that I had before. But I exercised a lot. I ran half marathons. I had lots of energy. I had just gotten remarried and we had a combined 6 children. We had a lively household and I was constantly busy. And I chose to have implants. And I didn't really put the connection together until after I started seeing Dani, and then I didn't want to believe it. And then I saw Dr. Bernouilli, and then I still didn't want to believe it. It's where it takes me a while sometimes, but anyway. So I'll go through a couple of the things that were weird. After I got the implants, I was at the dentist. I had a normal cleaning, and he came in and said, "You have something called tooth resorption. You have a totally normal tooth, and it's dying from the inside out. Wow! And we're gonna have to pull it. You're gonna have to have an implant put in." I was like, "What happened?" And he said, "It's an autoimmune condition. We don't really know what it is." I was like, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "I don't know." I didn't know either. So I had that surgery. Another thing, I got something called, I thought it was a wart on my finger. And I went to the dermatologist and she froze it off. And then it didn't hurt much before, but it really hurt after. And she said, "It's something called a digital myxoid cyst." And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's an autoimmune condition." And I keep hearing these things, it's an autoimmune condition. I had to have hand surgery and go through hand therapy. They had to cut open the joint and clean it out because it's fluid that accumulates in the joint. And I had them in my wrist as well. That was another thing that happened. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and basically told, that's when I was saying I'm so tired and I'm gaining weight, I can't lose weight, and all these different things. And I was like, why? Well, it's another autoimmune condition. That led me to Victoria Bailey, who does thermography, because I wanted a whole body scan. I was like, what is going on with me? So I did this whole body scan and we were talking and she told me about Dani. And I called to get an appointment with Dani and it was like 9 months later. And so she's on there, they sent me information and said, "You have to fill out all this paperwork and we need your full history." And so I took that 9 months to really dig deep. And I felt like I was going back to school and to grad school and doing research. I called my mom. I talked to her a lot and read books and got my history from where I grew up, the exposures that I had. I did have chemical exposure growing up. There were chemical plants where I lived. There was lead paint in the cabin that we had in Colorado. We spent our summers there. So I had all these exposures. So I was learning about root causes. I had been bitten by a fox, so I had a fox.
Only patient in 10 years I've ever had who has been bitten by a fox.
Oh my God. So I had rabies. Thank you.
Oh.
See,
Rabies.
rabies.
Yeah.
Which has metals in it. But anyway,
Yeah.
so there were a lot of root causes. So I saw Dani. She said, "I'm sending you to Bernouilli." And Dr. Bernouilli's like, "Yes, you have a lot of root causes." But again, he said, "Your breast implants." And I was like, well, I don't know about that. Go to the dentist. So they have lots of metal in my mouth. Okay, there's another root cause. And over Christmas, I really prayed about it. And I was like, God, what do I need to do first? Do I need to have my dental work done? Do I need to deal with, I have high levels of mold. I have high levels of all these metals. What do I do first? And I just felt, it was a feeling of peace. And it opened up my phone and opened Facebook, and there was something on healing breast implant illness by Nicole. And I started reading it, and I couldn't stop reading it for a week. It was unbelievable to read these women's stories because you can relate to so many of them. They're not exactly the same, but you have little pieces that are the same. I was also diagnosed with ADHD as an adult about 5 years ago because I couldn't focus. So many things. I had joint pain all the time. And so after I read Facebook for a week straight, I decided that I was going to have my explant surgery and went and met with my doctor and came in and told Dani, like, I'm having it done. Something that we kind of haven't talked about is the cost. It is expensive. And
It's very expensive.
Mine was, I think it's different. You can go on that Facebook site and like at the search bar, you can put any topic up there. And you can read all the different posts from people because lots of doctors, it's very different. It goes from several thousand to lots of thousands. And some insurance companies pay for it, some don't, and maybe they'll start paying for it now.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But I will say I had
So mine
22
insurance
of the
covered
40 symptoms before I went into surgery 6 weeks ago. And I came out within the first couple of weeks, 9 of them are gone. And I'm still new on this. But the shoulder pain, I had pain every single day through my shoulder, in my right breast, and through my back. And it was completely gone. Like, there's no pain at all. It's the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
My joints don't hurt. And I didn't realize my hands and feet aren't cold. I wore socks
Mine were,
all the time. And I'm not wearing socks anymore. Like, it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, anyway, so, another thing is my nutrient deficiency. I was in the red zone for all the nutrients. I'm like, how am I, like, I'm eating good. I'm not as healthy as y'all are. But I'm trying, but in all honesty, but I was nutrient deficient, just all these different things. So I did not want to believe it, but I believe now. And I really think that it's important to really listen to yourself and pay attention and ask those questions and reach out to all of us. And she
That's
said
right.
we're tagged, so you can ask us questions. And-
Yeah.
I just want to say something about the insurance company. So I fought my insurance company. I mean, for months, and I finally got reimbursement for the removal of my breast implants. So you can definitely get it covered. You just have to keep fighting for it. I actually had 2 surgeries. So the first one of the removal of the implants, they covered after fighting for months for it. I did get reimbursed, not all. I only got reimbursed $2,000, but that's a good chunk. I mean, $6,000 is what I paid for the first time removal. When I went to Dr. Cole in Atlanta, I spent a little bit more, only because she has a whole protocol to help you after you explant. So she has all the supplements in her office, and she will muscle test you, and she will tell you, you need this, this, and this, or you don't need this. And I was so sick, I couldn't make decisions for myself at that point. I couldn't decide what supplements I needed. I just had nothing left in me. So going to her was amazing for me. We got a hotel, we stayed in Atlanta, Georgia. She did my detox, and it wasn't a heavy protocol. It was it seemed very overwhelming at the time because you're just waking up from surgery and you're dealing with all this, but I just made sure I took notes and I took everything home she gave me. The bulk of my money was spent on the supplements that she had me on, but I feel like if I didn't follow her protocol, I wouldn't have been as quick as I was. It would have taken me longer. I mean, I'm still working on some things, but I am almost in remission, and I will get there, and you can too.
Good.
I agree. And one thing I want to say about the supplements, don't go out and buy cheap stuff at Wally World.
It has
Please
to
get quality.
It has to be.
Quality.
Like pure
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Help. You don't know.
Yes.
Even as
You
much
don't.
as I've been coming to Dani, I come in all the time and ask questions because you don't know. You hear all this different information.
Yeah,
And
you want to
that's all I'm glad
test.
you don't.
Test
Yeah.
yourself
That's
before
right.
you start doing
You
something.
get lots of people throwing things at you and trust your Dani.
That is precious.
Well, I knew
Well,
that something was really wrong beyond what we were treating when she kept saying, I do not understand. I do not understand.
Yeah.
We've healed this. I do not
Yeah.
understand. Why
Yep.
has this returned? Why? And so, this whole journey, all the whys.
There's
Why
a
is
lot.
this, and
Yeah, so she's got her implants here. So those came out of her. You were there, they were there 9 years.
9 years. You're saline? They're saline, yes. And they actually, so when they were put in, I really wanted small ones. When I came out of surgery, I was much larger than I wanted. So 6 weeks after surgery, he went back in and he drew saline out. That's why they're not full. They're 325s that were overfilled to 350, and I don't know how much he took out. But I wanted them back, honestly, because I wanted them as a teaching tool. I wanted my teenage daughter and her friends, I wanted to say, I want you to feel these, feel how heavy they are.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much my back hurt.
Yeah.
From weight.
and cold. They're cold.
And they were.
They're cold to the touch. You can go like this now. Oh my God, my boobs are warm.
They're
They're warm. They are.
Oh my gosh.
They felt like
now they're.
Nice and short. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's got silicone. Come up here and show your silicone implants.
See, and you see how sticky they are? They
Show
stick
that on here.
together.
So when did you have these removed?
Literally like February the 8th.
What? Just a few.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So look at the
and they're
difference.
So like when I pull them out, they're like, it's sticking to the bottom of it.
Oh my goodness.
Like they're that sticky and I didn't even have mine full 2 years.
You did not have them for 2,
It
wow.
would be 2 years, the end of April. So,
Wow.
but yeah, they just stick together. Yeah.
Mine did the same
And
thing.
mine were bigger than
And clearly there doesn't have to be any kind of rupture or
No.
tear for women. No.
No.
Mine
So
were
it's the
completely
silicone
intact.
that's encased in that will
Yeah.
start releasing
Uh-huh.
toxins.
That's
So
correct.
even if you don't have anything ruptured or leaking
And they
out, you can still have symptoms from the
Do
silicone.
they-
They smell bad?
Do any of y'all have difference
Did
with,
you?
I know a lot of people have them above the muscle, like mine are below the muscle. Have y'all heard of, because I heard there's a lot more problems when they're below the muscle with the
Somebody was
pockets.
saying that, who here had it below the muscle?
I was under.
I was under.
I was
Yeah.
under as well.
What did they do? Because I've heard that you have to be really careful when it's below the muscle to make sure, because of the fungus and the mold. Is that just the capsule that you're talking about to make sure to get that out?
Yes, yeah, and just to make sure you go to a surgeon who does the proper removal of the implant and the scar capsule, just because mine had the texture surface with the gummy bear, so that's kind of the most aggravating kind. And so
Yes.
my capsules continued to grow. Mine actually attached from my second rib to my sixth rib on both sides.
Which becomes a longer surgery. And
Yes.
you need a really skilled surgeon to
That's
be able
why
to remove
I knew
all
I
that.
needed a microsurgeon.
Yes.
Because once I realized what was in my body, which is also not what was agreed upon with my plastic surgeon.
Wow.
But once I realized what truly was in me and kind of connected it with the neurological issues I was having, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to go to someone who knows what they're
Did you
doing.
have saline muscles?
I had silicone.
Both sets of mine were silicone too, the ones that ruptured.
There's a list.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna end this Facebook Live and then we'll ask questions. Or what are you showing right here?
So I was
Casey, that way.
It's just a picture of my texture. You can't really tell. These are my scar capsules too.
Hold them up
Wow.
So they can see.
So I'll move my booth on the back.
Look at that. So these are your capsules and these are your implants, right?
Yep.
And then her boobs are on the back, so we're not gonna show that. Facebook will kick us all off. But you know, suicide rate is higher in breast implant patients. They have a higher suicide rate. They have a higher rate of aggressive lymphoma as well. They have a lung cancer rate as well as higher in breast implant women.
There's been a new test that showed.
Well, last year, breast cancer was not increased in
It's-
breast implants
It's a
as
different
of last
type
year.
of-
That's
yeah,
correct.
It's a lymphoma type of cancer.
Well, that's what I said, aggressive lymphoma is
Yes.
increased, yes, absolutely. Yeah, but breast cancer itself is not increased in breast implant women. But aggressive lymphoma, lung cancer, suicide rate are all higher in women with breast
What
implants.
about dementia or?
Dementia is also linked too, yes. But, you know, again, proving that one's gonna be a tough
There have
one,
been
right?
times when I've been out running and I'll be somewhere and I have no idea where I am.
Well,
And that has improved, but it's still, I get lost. And I just wonder, neurologically.
yeah, I agree.
I'm a breast cancer survivor, and so after that was all over, I went to one of those, pick me up things, whatever, with support groups, whatever. And they said, so how are you doing? And I was really in a good place. I mean, I was so good with God, and in fact, I've become closer to God through it all, and so my husband, and it was all good, really. And I said, but the one thing that's not good is my brain is not right. And they said, oh, that's chemo brain. And I said, okay, well, when's that gonna come back? And I said, never, that's not gonna come back. I'm not the type of person to just accept that. So I was like, well, that's unacceptable. I'm going to figure it out. So then I started, doing the research on that. So isn't that interesting? They were saying chemo, and of course I have the implants. Wonder if it was the implants and not chemo brains.
So on the card I gave you on the back, I believe it's actually Robin's contact information. She was one of the women who testified at the FDA, and she did not do chemo. She had friends that did, and she had her implants in for 4 months, and she had all of the issues that all of her friends, who talked about chemo.
Interesting.
And she
See,
had
I started taking all kinds of different things that really helped me. Like,
Look, these are for you guys. Now you can flip them out. You can flip them out if you want colored or white. I just got all my there. So, you guys have shared your story, and we're gonna turn this off, and y'all are gonna talk. But I'm gonna sit right here. All right, guys.
Okay.
I know this ran like an hour and 15 minutes, holy cow. But thank you, ladies. I mean, it's a big deal. And we're gonna turn this off and you guys are gonna continue to ask questions and all that. But just so you all know, tomorrow night is the Hashimoto support group meeting right here in this room at Integrated Family Medicine. We're gonna do that tomorrow night. Saturday, the office is open. One Saturday a month. It happens to be this Saturday because I pile it all on in 72 hours. That's how I like to do it. And then Saturday at 1 o'clock, we have the CBD workshop that I do once a month in here, 1 to 2, and it's all on the endocannabinoid system and all the research that's out there on CBD. For those of you who don't use CBD, you are welcome, or if you do, you're welcome to come because it's loaded with research. So, but I am so grateful for you guys being here tonight, and and all of you guys, share this with your friends, share it with your family, because there are millions of women out there who have no idea, just like these women who were told you're crazy, there's nothing wrong, right? And there is something wrong. And we believe you, they believe you, and find a doctor who believes you. If you have a doctor who doesn't believe you, then you find one who does. Right? That's right. That's right. All right, bye.